Even if we walk into Christmas Eve service grumpy, like you can't really walk out of there grumpy.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much hopeful opportunities. And it's also a call for peace.
Welcome once again, friends, to our totally normal, regular version of Tiny Pulpit Talks. This is our special edition from the Minister's Study, where we talk about really important things that are facing the church.
Yeah.
One of the things that's coming up is Christmas.
Is that an important thing that's facing the church?
I think it is. You know, we take this on every year.
Yeah.
What people may not realize is that, you know, there aren't magic elves that come and do the enormous number of things that this church does every year.
I thought there were.
Well, that's where we're getting real. We're talking about what Christmas really means to Unitarians and Universalists.
Oh boy. Okay.
I know.
Who knows the history of the Christmas tree? Don't you guys know that?
I think
Charles Follen was a Unitarian minister who was the first one to bring a tree inside and decorate it, and this was like a foreign concept. Why would you bring a tree inside your house?
First in America? I mean,
first in America. Yes, the idea came from Germany, I believe.
I mean, it's so that's one thing we like to do. We have Christmas, but what do we say about the birth of Jesus as Unitarians? The Mass for Christ Mass. I mean, what's your take? Did you grow up?
Basically it's all mythology. It's what are the meanings of the parts of the story that can speak to our lives. It's not, for us, it's not the birth of God, that God doesn't need to be birthed once and for all, but is birthed in many ways.
Yeah.
But the bringing of the quote unquote, the birth of the light in the darkness. There are so many ways we can interpret this as a sort of important opportunity. I always say Christmas for us is also just a chance to have a reset.
Yeah.
It asks us to reset our relationships and our the way we behave. And it offers us an opportunity to be kinder and to be generous and all those crazy things. I mean, like it's sort of like the core teaching of the church, right? Can you get to it?
Yep.
Can you birth that in your life? So that to me, that's essentially what it is.
And the aspect of that is also that it takes work. Yeah. It takes planning and preparation, and it's not just like done.
It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just the one baby that was born into the world that did all of that or that does all of that. But I mean, I think that's another important part of the story is that it's a baby.
Yeah.
Born into the world born into a very messy world, just like ours is pretty messy right now, and is a huge source of hope. And we use the reading every year. Every night a child is born is a holy night. So I think that's a big part of the story too.
Yeah. And lately we've been reading at the end, Peace Breaks Out, this this reflection on, that joy comes and it's going to come one way or the other. It takes time. It looks like you have a question.
No. I think it's right. That's right. Like, can we be surprised by that?
Yeah.
Even if we walk into Christmas Eve service grumpy. Like, you can't really walk out of there grumpy.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much hopeful opportunities. And it's also a call for peace, too. Like, we're living in a world of conflict.
Yeah.
Massive conflicts, all over the world. And the story has embedded in it this moment of the birth, which is a moment of global peace.
Yeah.
Where actually time stops. This is the sort of mystical exploration of that story. But it's expressed in the quietness of the animals, that all the animals of the world quieted. So peace is a piece to this too.
Yeah.
And it kind of asks us, what can we do about it? What parts can we what parts of peace can we cultivate in our families, in our homes, in that moment where we're all sitting in church with
the
a candle.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of the joy, the hope, and the peace. And I think that, we'll see those words also, all over the stores, making us buy stuff. But, it's really about those core things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, when I came here and started seeing all the things we do for Christmas and all the different services, one of the things that really struck me and what's interesting now is the growth I've seen in the middle communion service. When you talk about peace, lately there's been this, I know when I got here, I think there was 60, and then last year there was almost 90, and I feel like there's something in that service. I'm not trying to just pitch a service, but if I was doing Christmas here, first of all, I go to all three, the 5, the 7, and the 9, but I would definitely do the 7 and the 9. I would come to communion, I'd breathe, and then I'd stay for the 9 and feel the brass and feel the whole thing. Can you say something about the communion history?
Yeah, the communion, so I created that service here, partly to find a place where we could do communion more regularly. But I think it came from a story I read about a minister, like a Methodist minister or something, who, and I think it was fiction, but I like the idea, the concept that he said to his congregation, we're not going to do Christmas Eve services. We're just going to serve communion. And when your family gets to church, you just come forward and you and I will have a moment together.
Oh, okay.
And that struck me as something that I wanted as a pastor in a large church. And the communion service is this moment of intimacy between the provider, the server of the communion, and the receiver. And it struck me that at Christmas time that sort of connection and generosity, and that the best of us, or best of ourselves, comes out in a moment like that. That we hope for at family dinners at Christmas, but
don't always find.
Don't always find. But we kind of think of that communion as almost like a meal that we're having together, in a sense. So we have people come from this neighborhood who've never come to church here any other day, who've come every year
to that service.
We have families that have come since their children were tiny, and now they're giant.
We got some tall kids at this church.
Right, but there's something about that quiet, intimate service that, I hope when someday when I'm gone, they you all continue it, because I think it really is special in a way.
It's become an important tradition of this church for sure.
It stood out to me as the sort of newest member. I was like, oh, this feels good. And the thing I thought of when you were explaining it is the month leading up to it, our culture just wants us to go so fast and to make decisions so quickly about buying and meeting and traveling and that it's like a breath in the midst of that. And not all the services are in their own way, but that one in particular, it feels like it's this intentional slow down and notice each other.
And every service, we should say, has candlelight, and has similar elements. But that service, because we do that ritual, and it's not body of Christ, obviously. It's the gift of the earth. It's the sharing of something important, rather than the classic notion that Jesus's body is being served. That's not.
We serve it for the love of all people and the peace of all nations.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the words.
Yeah.
That's
what it's about.
Yeah.
Well, it's an exciting time of year. We are excited to see all of you.
If you can tell. If you can't tell.
We get really excited. A lot goes into it, and we can't wait to be here with all of you. So we're wishing you well in this happy holiday season. Slow down, people. Just peace be with you. Just hear us as your ministers. leave some of the things unwrapped. Do whatever you need to do. Not things for me. Those must be wrapped. But just go easy with yourself and with the people you love. Yeah. So we'll be here for you. We'll see you on Christmas. Come to all 3 services. We're taking attendance. All right. Like us, ask us questions. Like us. Do all the things. And if you want to review us in your favorite podcast provider, we'd appreciate it. Have a wonderful Christmas season and holiday season, and we will see you on Sunday and all the other days, because Christmas, we're here a lot. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.